don't take revision seriously, you know, if you don't really put your heart and soul into it, then you know what will happen. You shall not pass! I've never been to Hitchin before, and what a lovely day it's turned out to be so far. And very nice to be in your school. From what I've heard about it, it's a really good school indeed. So, congratulations on being a member of it and being part of it. I'm not here to talk about being an actor, but rather to be here as a gay man and as an old gay man. And I thought it might be a bit interesting for you to hear what it was like growing up gay when I was your age. This was in the north of England, where my father was borough engineer of Bolton, it's a town just near Manchester. And people often say to me, when did you first realise you were gay? And my answer is, do you know, that'll put me off enormously for taking photographs. Would you mind? Sorry. I just want to talk to you. So, people say, when did you realise you were gay? And I say, well, about the same time that you realised that you weren't gay. You know? There comes a time when the hormones start raging and you start being interested in sex and all that sort of thing, and talking about it and wants to do something about it and feeling a little bit different than you used to be. Well, that's great and that's life, and but if you're gay, it's not quite the same as it is if you're not. And to begin with, when I was growing up, we didn't call ourselves gay, we called ourselves queer. That was the word for homosexuals. Queer. Perverts. Abnormal. Unnatural. Second rate. Never to be talked about. And it never was. In fact, the word gay had not been invented when I was a kid. It was just queer. And the queer thing was that to be homosexual was against the law. Yeah, you could not have sex with somebody, with another person of the same gender, unless, of course, you were a woman, a girl. I mean, two women could do whatever they want. There's never been a law against being a lesbian, because I suppose the laws being invented on the whole by men, they could never imagine what the two women would enjoy being together. They would just be waiting for a man to come along and make them happy. But men, no, they could not have sex, and if they did, they could be found guilty and, like two friends of mine, put in prison for making love. So, this wasn't a subject that was talked about at school. There were no famous gay people. No Graham Norton, no Claire Baldwin. No Chattingham. It wasn't even written about. You could pick up a serious newspaper like The Guardian or The Telegraph or The Times. No, nothing about it. The only time queers were ever mentioned would be in the dirty pages of the Sunday newspapers, News of the World, that sort of thing. Horrible stories about something that had gone wrong in some relationship, and that's what those perverts are like. So, here I am looking at books of naked men. Where do you find those? Well, you have to go to Michelangelo, those beautiful statues he made of young men that were very attractive to me, and I'd look at those books and feel quite excited. But I couldn't talk to my parents about it, or my sister, Jean, 5 years older than me. Couldn't talk about it at Sunday school, at school, and it just wasn't there. No books in the library, no internet. You're on your own. Now that's not good. You must know yourself. At your age, you don't want to be on your own. You want to be with friends. You want to be with people who can talk about serious matters. Not an option. It's so ridiculous because my best friend at school, David Hargreaves, your teachers will know about David Hargreaves, Professor Hargreaves, he ended up as We never mentioned it. We never knew. I didn't know until 25 years later. That's it, in total silence. And looking back, that makes me very angry, because that's not good for a kid. It's not good for them, it's not good for their relationships, it's not good for society. But somehow you survived. And the way I survived was by discovering acting. Lots of acting I could do at school. Now, if you're acting, you can be very open about your feelings and your relationships and your emotions, because that's in the play. It's a part you're playing. You're pretending. I could be open as an actor in a way that I couldn't be open as a human being, as in private life. And I think that's why a lot of professional actors are gay. They're escaping into a substitute reality. And that kept me going. And they took me to university. And I did a lot more acting. And finally, at university, I met boys and girls like myself who were gay. We didn't call ourselves gay, we called ourselves camp. That was the word we used about ourselves. And after 3 years, I fell in love. I met a boy from Kansas in America. He was a beautiful Kurt, an actor, training to be a professional actor in England, and we met, we fell in love, we had sex, and I felt I'd sort of grown up. 21. And I became a professional actor because I'd heard that you can meet gay people in the profession. I'm quite right, I did. You see, there were no clubs you could go to, there were no magazines you could read, there was no outlet. You were absolutely on your own, unless you could somehow meet other gay people, and that was a very tricky situation. How do you identify someone as being gay? You don't wear badges. It's not obvious. You developed a way of looking at someone, or even touching their hand when you shook it, you squeeze. It was a horrible world of you felt you were locked out from the mainstream. But I became an actor, and I joined a community of people who didn't give a damn about sexuality. The only judgment actors make about each other is, are you any good? Are you working hard? Do you deliver? Not how tall are you, or where you come from, or how much money you earn, or what your sexuality is. That's not the point, nor should it be. So a rather mature society, group, community, people, and within that, I was able to live a pretty good life, actually. I fell in love with Brian Taylor, who was a history teacher at a comprehensive school in London, and he and I, in our 20s, lived together. I had gay friends, we had straight friends, we went out together. I wouldn't have dreamt of going anywhere without Brian with me. We were sort of married, really. Although that wasn't an option, it was still illegal for us to be having sex. We broke the law in our own bedroom. And we would never have showed our affection in public. We would never have held hands, put our arms around each other, and embraced or kissed at the railway station or the bus station or the airport. Why? Because that might have offended somebody, and they might have been violent towards us, might have hit us, might have shouted at us. And they would have been in the right, we would have been in the wrong, we would have been causing the breach of the peace by just being ourselves. That was the situation with the laws at the time. Brian couldn't be out at school, he couldn't be honest about himself because he would have been sacked. Not that long ago, you know, that if a teacher was gay, they had to be removed because they would have been corrupting you. That would have been the subject. They would be in school to corrupt. You see, we were still second rate, even though we were sort of half out. Now, out, what does that mean? Out of the closet is the phrase. It's an American phrase, but closet is a cupboard. And the idea is, the image is that if you are a gay person, but you're not open about it, you're not honest about it, you don't declare yourself, what you had to do if you weren't going to avoid the laws of the land. And yet it's surprising to me, I was perfectly happy like this until I was nearly 50 years old. There were gay rights movements going on around the world, but I didn't really notice them. I didn't feel it was relevant to me. I was a very selfish person. Getting on with my career, being happy at home, fine. What does it matter about everybody else? Now, civil rights movements don't get anywhere until the people who are being oppressed decide to do something about it themselves. Women would never have got the vote in this country unless the suffragettes had organised, and against the disapproval of many men, they stood up for themselves and said, we deserve to have the vote because we are equal with any man in the country. And with some violence, they made the case, and eventually they got the vote. The civil rights movement for black people would never have got anywhere in the United States if it hadn't been for Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, or in South Africa without Nelson Mandela, in prison for 27 years for opposing apartheid, that system which kept white people and black people separate, couldn't sit on the same bench, couldn't travel in the same bus, couldn't get married. That would have continued unless the black people had stood up for themselves, and it's the same for gay people. And the first time that it really impinged on us and the world that gay people could stand up for themselves was in New York City. And you can go there today to the site of it. There's the Stonewall Inn, a pub, a bar, where gay people used to meet. Rather sleazy place together and a bit off the beaten track. It was run by the mafia, who protected the gay people from the police, who occasionally raided. And one day the police did raid. This made it inconvenient for gay people to be normal and associate with each other. And I don't know what it was. It was a very hot summer. And the gay clients of the bar stood up for themselves, and in fact they locked the police inside the bar. And there were riots down there for 3 nights. The Stonewall riots. And that was the moment when gay people said, we can, if we stick up for ourselves, do something about our situation. And did it have any effect on me living in London? I didn't really notice. So what got me out of the closet? What made me aware? What made me care about other people's situation rather than just being selfish? Well, there were some local government councils, like the one that runs the school, who were beginning to say, we've got to do something about the young gay people. If young gay people want to meet with each other, we should provide small sums of money for them to meet in public buildings if they want. And a little bit of money was being spent on social services for young gay people in the Met. Well, people in Westminster, people in the House of Commons, our government didn't like it. And they thought it was corrupting young people to provide them with simple social services. And inspired by some homophobic people in the Bible Belt of America, they came up with this new law. Have you ever heard of it? Section 28. Ever heard of that? You Google it, you won't believe it. Section 28 said that in future it will be illegal to promote homosexuality in schools. Now how do you do that? How do you promote homosexuality? something you're born with. It's innate. It's as natural as having red hair or being short-sighted or something. It just is. But the feeling was that if you talked about homosexuality in a positive way in the school, you would be trying to convince young people to become gay. It can't be done. Everything possible was done to make me straight, you know. Didn't work. I think your sexuality is pretty well fixed, whatever it happens to be, at a very early age. Maybe in the womb, I don't know. That's how it feels to me. Yeah. Gay people had pretended family relationships. This is what it said in this law. Gay people were second-rate. Their relationships were not real. They were pretended. And to talk about them positively would be to corrupt. That would be against the law. So what I've just been doing for the last quarter of an hour was illegal. Mr. Edwards could be taken up to the front of the local magistrate, along with the governors and people, to protect you. From what? The truth? An aspect of life? Something you might know about, something you might be interested in, what that is education for. But letting you know about different things in life. This was the law. This was section 28. This was an appalling attempt to keep young people in the dark. To do absolutely opposite from education. And I took offense because it was all about me. It was protecting young people from my God-given nature. And I was on a radio program, and in the course of arguing against Section 28, I slipped out the fact that I was gay myself, and that was it. Oh, my closet door had swung open and I stepped out. But not quite, because this broadcast was only going to go out on the airwaves 2 days later, and in the meantime I had to do a bit of quick canvassing. I had to go around and tell my blood family, who I'd never talked about being gay with. All my friends knew, all my employers knew, all my employees knew, my agent knew, everybody in my life knew I was gay, of course. But not my blood family. So up I go to the Lake District where Gladys lives. Now she's my stepmother, 80 years old. My mother died when I was 12 of breast cancer. Never told her I was gay. My dad died when I was 24, car crash. Never told him either. Biggest regret of my life, that I didn't give them the chance to just say, that's right. I think they'd have been all right. They were good Christian people. They wanted to make the world a better place. Lots of teachers in my family, a lot of missionaries too. And I think they'd have been all right, but I'll never know. But up I am in the Lake District going to tell my stepmother. Now she's a Quaker, she's a member of the Society of Friends. They've always been terribly good on gay issues. Long before anybody else, they were saying, fine. We're all God's children, is their attitude. So, I shouldn't really have had much problem, should I? Telling Gladys, but I did. I drove her out to my favourite view in the whole world, the Langdale Pikes. The sun was shining like today. Down the car windows, tweets of birds, and lambs buying. All's well with the world. And I start. So I say, Gladys, I've got something to tell you. Yes, what's that? Well, where do I start? Well, I've just been to San Francisco, I said. Oh, she said, yes, thanks for the car. Yes, and I met the author there, Armistead Maupin. You know him. Oh, yes. he wrote some wonderful books called Tales of the City of San Francisco. The tales are about all sorts of people living there, including a lot of gay people. And I said, you know, Armistead Maupin is gay. And she said, oh yeah. Yes, I said, so we talked quite a lot about being, and I'm 49 years old and I'm having trouble, I'm sweating, telling the woman I love most in the world that this secret that I have all this time. And eventually I blurted it out, so I said, so Gladys, I'm trying to tell you I'm gay. Oh, she said, oh, Ian, I thought you were going to tell me something really dreadful. I've known that for 35 years. 35 wasted years, really. Except I was blessed. We had another 20 years. She lived till she was 100. Don't let anyone tell you that gay people keep families apart. If you can be honest, if you can be yourself, if you can share your secret, if you can get it out in the open, it brings families together. And Gladys and I were bonded and were best pals for the rest of our life, thank goodness. Now, here's the interesting thing. She said, are you going to tell other people? I said, well, yeah, the broadcast goes out in 2 days. I've got to tell Jean, my sister, 5 years older. I don't know about that, she said. So obviously they've been talking about me behind my back. She picked up something negative from Jean. So I get on the phone to Jean. Jean, got something to tell you. What's that, darling? Well, should have told us a long time ago, but I'm gay. Oh, she said, yes, I know that. Oh. Yes, she said, I've got lots of gay friends. I've always wanted to talk to you about it, and I just think you didn't really want to. I said, well, I don't think I could. Yes, well, of course you could. Look, you're not going to tell Auntie Dorothy, are you? Interesting thing, everyone's always worried about somebody else. Fine with me. Don't know about the world outside. All up Auntie Dorothy. Hello, Auntie, how are you? In an old people's home. That's, I'm fine. I've got something to tell you. She's going to be on the radio in a couple of days. Oh, what's that? Well, I'm gay. She said, yes. No problem. My mother's younger sister. She said, you're not going to tell your nephew, are you? What? Well, I've got to tell Stephen. You be careful. Always worried about somebody else. So I call up Stephen in Newcastle. 18 years old. Hello, Stephen. Hi. Got something to tell you. Oh, what's that? I'm gay. Oh, yeah, good. I'm glad you didn't tell me a couple of years ago. I don't know what the boys at school would have thought if they'd known I had a gay uncle. Always worried about somebody else. So if you wonder why not all the gay actors in Hollywood are out, it's because they're worried about somebody else. I think I was always a bit worried how it would affect my career. That's why politicians wouldn't like to come out. Until Chris Smith came out. Chris Smith, Labour MP, Member of Parliament, said he was gay. Everyone said that's the end of his career. He won't get elected next time round. And he did, with an increased majority. Because people like honesty, don't they? You're a politician. You want to know where you understand you. You understand why there are no openly gay players in the Premier League? Not a single gay soccer player in this country? What? Of course there are. They know it, their partners know it, their family probably knows it, their agents know it, their managers know it, the teammates know it. They're worried about what's going to happen when they go out into the field, to the pitch, what are the terraces going to shout, particularly as they're away again. When I met Keegan Hurst, captain of Backley rugby league team, he came out last year when he was in his late 20s. I met him, I said, how are you feeling? Oh, he said, best thing I've ever done in my life, Ian. Oh, well, I knew that. You will not meet any gay person who's come out and regrets it. I'm very happy for you to say on my tombstone, here lies Gandalf, he came out. But But he said, I'm bothered about Saturday. What's happening on Saturday, Keegan? He said, well, my first match with everyone knowing I'm gay. So what happened? Well, they all ran out the tunnel, but the team kept back. He arrived on the pitch on his own, and they all cheered in the terraces. End of problem. Another rugby player for Wales, I think he had 100 caps for Wales. Gareth Edwards, got his name right? I think so. Rugby union. Didn't dare come out until he finished playing, he was retired. And I met him at his coming out party. I said, how are you feeling? He goes, best thing I ever did in my life, Ian. Great big, huge man. Oh, I said, come on, better than all those caps for Wales? Oh, yeah. But you might wonder why there aren't more openly gay members of staff at this school. There are gay members of staff at this school, of course there are, by the law of averages. Why aren't they open about it? Why do they mind you knowing? What's the problem? The problem is you. They think they're worried about somebody else. That's not right, is it? But they're a different generation. They have links back to my generation, where to talk about being gay was against the law. So when I came out, when I made that big step, for me, oh my goodness me, everything got better. The weight I'd not known was on my shoulders fell apart. The whatever it was that was stopping my emotions coming up from the diaphragm where it all happens, you know, where you cry and you laugh. People say I became a better actor. Of course I did. If you're being honest at last, you could be a better actor. My acting now is not about disguise, it's not about pretending, it's not about being a substitute for the real thing. It is the real thing. My film career only took off when I came out and said I was gay. And this is a pattern for so many people of whatever age they may be. And at last I made connections with the human race, particularly that part of the human race which was disadvantaged, as I felt I'd been, by the laws. And I wanted to change the laws, and others did too, and we started a group, and we called it Stonewall, honouring the pioneers of the gay civil rights movement at the Stonewall Inn that I told you about. There were 10 lesbians and 10 gay men, and we got together. We weren't elected, it was not a democratic organisation, it was just a lobby group, and we were going to get the laws changed. That's what we were going to do. And we did. We got rid of Section 28. That went. We made it possible for gay people to serve in the military, which hadn't been possible. It is now against the law to sack anyone because they're gay. It used to be that if you were gay, you could be sacked from any job in the country. You were not fit. You were second rate. Could be removed. Not anymore. Can't sack anyone now because they're gay. No reason for teachers to worry. And so many other things too. Civil rights, civil partnerships for gay people, and now marriage. This country has the best laws for gay people of any country in the world. You can be proud to be a part of a country like Great Britain. However, if you live in Northern Ireland, you can't get married if you're gay. There's another, usually behind the times in Northern Ireland. And the laws have changed so much that Section 28 has been turned absolutely on its head. Do you know it is illegal to discriminate against anybody in the school or in any workplace if they're gay? You may not discriminate on grounds of sexuality. It's against the law. So this school has to work out how to obey that law, how to make you the beneficiaries of this commonsensical, human, morally right attitude that discrimination is inappropriate, that we should all be treated equally. So here I am talking. 20 years ago I would have been breaking the law, and now it is required that you understand and talk about homosexuality, have a view on it, understand it as far as you're concerned, as far as your friends are concerned, people in public life are concerned. And your school's to be congratulated on taking that seriously. Not all schools do. There's more work to be done, and that is what Stonewall now does. Stonewall has changed the laws, and it now has to change the way people behave to each other in institutions, whether it's a school or an office or a theatre or whatever it happens to be. So all's fine now, isn't it? Right. I think it was maybe 3 years ago, Michael was just landed a job, a civil servant, middle-aged man, been out of work for some time, and he was celebrating. He was out in Trafalgar Square, you know, Nelson's Column, the Lions. And he'd had a drink or two. It was just past closing time, and he and his male partner were going for the bus, arms around each other probably. And they bumped into 3 teenagers, 2 girls and a boy, who saw them and noticed 2 men being affectionate in a public place. Faggot! Queer, pervert, shirt lifter. Oh, Michael was feeling very confident. He'd had a drink. Stop that. Yes, I'm gay. What's the problem? Well, the problem was so severe that they kicked him under his knees, and they banged onto the pavement, and then his head on the pavement. And one of the girls, she was wearing high heels, so she stamped on his head. And nobody noticed or did anything, and so she did it again. Until she killed him. In our capital city. In Trafalgar Square. Well, of course she's in prison, but where had she learned that it was appropriate behaving? She didn't like the fact he was gay. What on earth was it to do with her? Where had she learned that that was appropriate behaviour? Well, what schools had she gone to? Well, not this one, obviously. If you look beyond the United Kingdom, things get even worse. Now, Mr. Putin, behaving like the time-honoured dictatorial methods of czars in the past, a strong man, has introduced Section 28, this law I was telling you about, which said you couldn't talk about homosexuality in schools. He's introduced this right across Russia. It's now illegal in Russia to talk positively about homosexuality in the hearing of anybody under the age of 18. In a meeting, in a school, at home, in private, in public. Anyone under the age of 18 is being kept in ignorance about homosexuality in the whole of Russia. 2.5 hours from here, I play. When I went recently, the meetings I was at, talking about being an actor really, most of the time. It had to say outside the meeting, no one's allowed into this meeting if they are under the age of 18, because they might be corrupt to India shortly afterwards, and in India they got a law which says it is illegal to be gay. Now where on earth did they get that from? Well, that was the law that the British Empire introduced when they were running India all those years ago. And when we left India in 1947, we left this law behind. This law is now being defended by Indians, and when I object to it and say that's wrong, sexuality should not be a matter of the law. They say, don't come to us with your foreign ideas, we have this Indian law. No, it's not an Indian law, it's a British law. We've introduced it, we gave it to you. I said, I'm here to apologise, let me take it back. China, same thing. Be careful where you go on holiday. If you're gay or you like gay people or you're with a gay person. I think it's 73 countries it's illegal to be gay. Many of them members of the Commonwealth. Just came back from Kenya. Illegal to be gay in Kenya. We don't have gay people in Kenya, they say. Iran, Muslim country. 2 years ago, two 16-year-old men were accused of being gay. They'd slept together. They were lovers. They lived together. They were found guilty of that. They took them out into a public place. They put steel hawsers around their necks. They wound them up on top of a crane and let them hang there till they were dead. They televised it. That'll teach them. It's a wicked world. I said it was a Muslim country as if there's something wrong with being a Muslim. Nothing wrong with being a Muslim. Nothing wrong with being Catholic. Nothing wrong with being a member of the Jewish faith. But don't tell me that your holy books are anti-gay. Don't point out to me the very, 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 very few references there are in these books to gay people. That is not central to any faith. All faiths are about love thy neighbour as thyself. They're not about hate thy neighbour because he's gay. And I'm afraid you have to be homophobic. You have to have some inbuilt problem with your attitude to gay people to find those attitudes supported by the Holy Book. And don't forget, it was the Bible that defended apartheid. It was the Bible that you could point to and defend slavery. It was the Bible that you could point to and say, women are second-class citizens. Attitudes rightly change. The human race matures. Look to these books for total relevance on human behaviour. New York, where Stonewall started the gay rights movement. It's the home of Donald Trump. Now, before you wish Donald Trump away, do be careful who would be his substitute. Mike Pence, Vice President, voted in. Mike Pence believes that gay people are sick, are ill, they have to be cured. And to send us all off for aversion therapy. Probably involves electric shock waves whilst you look at pictures of sexier people, and it's meant to turn you off them. Primitive, homophobic nonsense. Vice President. So all I'm here to do really is to just open your eyes a little bit as to how it used to be, how it still is, and to encourage you to do what you're already, I know, doing, under the guidance of a wonderful head teacher. get it right here in your school. You're protected here from the outside world. You can make your society whatever you want. If you hear any kid still saying gay, meaning this watch is gay, not working properly, the gay, second rate, wonky, queer, just point out there might be a gay person overhearing that who would think that perhaps that's what you thought about gay people. I know it's frowned on. It should absolutely be totally eradicated. And if there's a new generation of kids coming from a primary school where they still use gay in that sense, some sixth formers get down to the primary school before you leave school and say, you're moving up to the big school, we don't use gay like that in our school. What's at Priory? Just get rid of it and explain why you have to get rid of it. What can I say? It's all basic, really. It's all be nice to each other. And know that, yeah, gay people are in a minority. Yeah, so are redheads. So are people with blue eyes. So are twins. So are short-sighted people. So are tall people. So are overweight people. So are autistic people. So are dyslexic people. I bet you're in one of those minorities. Your only child, not born in this country. I mean, there are so many minorities. There's perhaps no such thing as a majority, really. We're all different. I look here and every single face different. Isn't it amazing? With the exception of identical twins, we all look different. And that's great. It's organised so that we are. And we can declare ourselves. Yes, I'm different. And you're different. And I like you because you're different. I am what I am. There's the message. And right, it's 11 o'clock. We've got another quarter of an hour or something. You can ask me any question you want about my private life or public life or whatever you're talking about. Any questions? Good and loud, a little bit left. Did any of my friends have to go through conversion therapy? No, thank goodness. Although, I mean, sometimes when you come out to your parents, their first reaction, what did we do wrong with me and your dad? And I do know people who did want to send their child to a psychiatrist. And when they did, the psychiatrist said, well, there's nothing wrong with this child. You've got it wrong. And it's a long time now since all medical associations in this country said that osteoporotic is not a disease. It's not an abnormality. It's something unusual, different, but it's natural. And will we ever know? I don't know. Does it matter, frankly? Some people say there's a gay gene that you have. But look, I mean, on a scale of 0 to 100, let's say 0 is absolutely gay and 100 is absolutely straight. Where would you put yourself in that spectrum? Are you really 100% certain? I don't know. I think if the world were a little bit different, we could all be ourselves. And we discover that most people are in the middle of the spectrum. So I think. But society would have to change a great deal for us to be allowed to be ourselves totally. Yeah, somebody was saying.
Do you think your role in X-Men is sort of similar problem with
Yes, very good point about the X-Men movies. I did 3 of those. And the reason I was interested in doing them was that the director said to me, well, a story about mutants, a story about people who are born different and have different talents to other people, who are reviled because of it, is the sort of story of any gay rights movement. And the young people who read the comics on which these movies are based, I'm told by Marvel, are, on the whole, they're either young blacks, young Jews, or young gays. People who have all suffered the finger being pointed at them by society, saying, you're different, you're inferior. And of course, mutants are an extreme example of that sort. And the argument in the movies is the argument of all the civil rights movement. Are we going to violently stick up for ourselves, which is what Magneto says? Are we going to fight physically for our rights, or are we, Professor X's view, going to assimilate? Are we going to contribute to society? Are we going to help to change it, be ourselves in that way? Well, I agree with Professor X. And I'm proud that the gay rights have been achieved in this country without any violence whatsoever. Not sure of the suffragettes. They broke windows and there were deaths. Same with black civil rights movement. But gays have somehow done it. Maybe because we've got a sense of humour. Maybe because we are so obviously right in asking to be treated equally. We are what we are. Yeah.
You don't aim for friends who are gay because they're bullied.
Look, I'm deaf. You're going to have to say that again.
You don't aim for friends who are gay because they get bullied.
Did they get what?
Bullied.
Did they get bullied? And their friends at school get bullied? Well, I didn't get bullied because nobody knew I was gay. I hardly knew it myself. I didn't talk about it, as I said, to even to my closest friends. So, there was one moment, actually, when I was at primary school. I'd be about 9 or 10. And out of the blue, and I've never really understood it, the other boys, not girls, but the other boys jumped on me, got me on the ground, and sort of started punching me and laughing at me until I cried. It's pathetic, really. He said, he's striking, which means that he's crying. He's crying, and I said, they're laughter tears. Little lad can understand. And I think maybe they detected in me something I didn't know about myself, that I was different. Yeah, I bullied people. There was a little boy in our school called Peter. And he was a cute little merry-faced boy. Teacher's pet, sort of. All the teachers loved him. Everybody liked him. So we went to the school camp, and suddenly we were all alone without a teacher present, and we were going down to swim. We went under a tunnel to get to the beach. But suddenly, nobody organised it. It just happened. We suddenly turned on him, Peter. The teacher's pet. We shouted at him. And he ran away, and we felt great for about 5 seconds. We collectively used our power to bully somebody who was weaker. I'm still ashamed of that. That's over 60 years ago. I'm still ashamed. Bullying. It's very, very primitive bullying. You wonder where it comes from. I've just been looking at the animals in Kenya. The animals don't bully each other. Human beings do. It's because we're scared, isn't it? And therefore, and what are we scared of? Something that's unusual. It's worth thinking about why we bully. Hello. Any more? Just scratching your nose. Yeah.
Can you say you shall not pass again?
No! You shall not pass. But but I might. You're gone. Yeah.
If you were given 1 hour with Theresa May, give or take, what changes would you like her to make?
Theresa May. Well, on the subject we're talking about, she's a convert. When they had the votes in the House of Commons to get rid of Section 28, the law which said that you may not talk as I've been doing to you, two women stood out. One in the House of Lords was Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister who had introduced this law. The last thing she ever did in public life was to go into the House of Lords to defend it and try and keep it. I'm afraid in the Commons, Theresa May was there also voting to retain Section 28. Well, she's had a change of heart. She changed her mind. She admitted she was wrong. So, I suppose I wouldn't need an hour. I'd just say, go on admitting that you can be mistaken. I think that's the best thing a politician can have, is an ability to learn and to listen and to understand and to get rid of prejudices. But on specific issues, I think we'll leave it alone there. Yeah.
How did the public react?
How did the public react when I came up? I was 49. I was quite successful. My friend